They can have 4 wives.
万一4个都不能生
Then you're unlucky bastard.
欢迎来到 Hello Candle Podcast。今天的主持人换了呢，从一个男生的声音变得女生的声音。因为呢，我们从今天开始呢，我们的 Podcast 会有一点点的小改革。好，废话不多说，我们直接进入正题。欢迎今天的第2个主播，叫主播吗？
Co-host.
Co-host，OK，、欢迎 Co-host 我的先生 Kevin。
Yeah. Hey, wait.
拍手。好，多给你一个掌声。
Thank you.
你过得好吗？最近
Yeah, not bad. Things are going well. In Malaysia, we have changed our Prime Minister, and also anyone that has already been vaccinated with the second dose,
yeah,
after 14 days,
掌声。
yeah, we can already dine in. Well, not that I encourage people to do so, but you know.
其实我有另外一个想法，就是如果我们大家都不 dine in 的话，其实那些店还能 survive 吗？
Very good question. I know one of the owner of a very famous cafe, and he did mention to me that a majority, actually a big source of income for them is actually from dine-ins, right? So since they're doing deliveries nowadays, they're not even open for dine-in. They are trying to keep their staff safe and healthy, right? But at the same time, they just cannot offer dine-in, even though that's the biggest chunk of their income. So I do think that that would be the same case for a lot of places as well.
对，其实我一直都有一个 slogan， 我说我们再不去外面打包，那些商家就要打包走人了。所以我明白外面很危险，可是可能我们偶尔还是要支持一下local business， 因为他们真的很辛苦。
Yeah, of course. Support within your means, right? Don't overspend. Yeah.
好，回归正题。OK， 今天呢，我要跟大家分享我们上个礼拜呢在家Netflix 看到的一部好电影。诶，你会给这个电影多少分
？The movie was good. I would say 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
Oh, 8 out of 10.
Which is quite good.
对，因为我的先生他其实要求很高，所以8分的电影呢，我觉得大家可以去看一看。这部是什么电影呢
So drama.
OK， 这部电影叫咪咪。
咪，
对，咪咪。
那you
咪咪，它就叫咪咪。我们先来一点点的剧透。剧透就是呢，这个咪咪这个女生呢，她是这部电影呢，她的主角叫咪咪，是讲述一个想要去 Bollywood 发展的女生。可是她因为没有钱，她选择成为代理孕母，帮一对美国夫妻生孩子。说真的，在看这部电影的时候呢，其实我是又笑又哭，真的是一个又笑又哭的阶段。这礼拜我们看的电影，我好像都很多愁善感。你觉得女人是不是都是多愁善感的类型
啊？Very dangerous question. Yes.
真的吗？
I mean, everyone watches with their emotions, right?
尤其是关于女生，可能女生特别能 relate 吧。
Yeah, of course, if it's something that you can relate, it just adds on to your emotions, right? And the movies that we've watched recently is very female specific.
你选的。
I chose one and you chose one, okay? Fair enough.
OK， 好，我们来讲回代理孕母啊。其实 Kev， 你可以解释一下什么是代理孕母吗？
Okay, so 代理孕母 basically it stands for surrogacy, right? Or surrogate mom. Surrogacy is basically like an arrangement, right, in which a woman, the surrogate, right, agrees to carry and give birth to a child on behalf of another person or couple, right? And this person or couple is basically the supposedly parents. Yeah.
这样的话是拿别人的 sperm 跟别人的 egg 放进另外一个人的身体。
Yep. Think of it like nasi lemak. You take the rice, you take the sambal, you put into one plate. Put into another plate. Someone's plate.
哦，
Yeah, so basically there are two ways, right? Let me just share a bit about the methods of how surrogacy comes around, right? So there is the traditional method. The traditional method basically is when we use or we I'm not sure if borrow is the right term, because once you borrow you don't really return it, but you use the egg of the surrogate mom, right? So one of the reasons why we have surrogacy is because maybe the male or the female, they're not able to have child, right? They're not able to give birth to have children, and they get someone to, you know, like to substitute and to give birth to their so-called children. So previously in the traditional method, the guy will maybe extract his sperm, you know, and then insert this into the surrogate's mom's egg, or well, they could have sex, right? This is like a bonus benefit.
Wow, I cannot, I cannot. 这个我不可以。
Okay, but that's the traditional method, right?
哇，这样这个老公如果选这个 method 哦，他一定是要趁机，我跟你讲。
Yeah, of course with the agreement of the wife lah, right? But the other method, which is the modern method, which we also call it as gestational, right, is IVF, in vitro fertilization, where they find a sperm, they find an egg, right? They combine those and they can put that IVF into the surrogate's mom. So the donor of the sperm and egg can be two completely different people, right? And then they use a host, surrogate mom as the host.
这样的话，所以我们现在都是用这个新的 method 哦，在大多数人。
I think IVF or this gestational surrogacy, right, is the new way forward, right? And I can imagine that it reduces a lot of arguments.
为什么呢？
Because, well, men cannot have sex with the surrogate mom.
哦，所以你来帮我捋一下，看我对不对？就是现在的代理孕母，就是有一对 parents 他们没有办法自己生孩子，所以他们拿出他们的蛋跟拿出他们的精子，然后在 lab 里面先 mix 好，再放进另外一个人的身上，这样子对吗？
Yes, that is right.
哦，这样哇，我觉得现在科技真的是改变人类，科技跟医疗。这样的话，其实这个代理孕母这个方法，它是从几年开始的呀？
We don't really have the real history, right, of when exactly this started. Probably a very long time ago, especially, you know, with since we have, number one, we have body problems, body health concerns, right? And secondly, I'm sure we do have homosexuals a long time ago, and if they do want children and adoption is not one of their choice, then they can go for surrogacy, right? But in terms of from what do you call it, official documentation history, right? So in 1976, right, I think this was in US, there was a Michigan lawyer who wrote the first surrogacy contract in the United States.
他为什么要写 contract?
Because you're going to put down the terms, right, that I'm going to carry your baby for 9 months, right, and after that I'm going to pass it back to you regardless of the baby's condition, right, and also you must pay me money.
可是这样就代表1976年前都有这个 surrogacy 的事情了。
Yeah. So it probably existed way before that, but in 1976 is the first time there's an official contract.
Oh, I see.
Right. So that's probably the first time. And then in 1978, right, even though we have the first surrogacy, in 1978 we did get the first test tube baby, which is goes by the name of a person called Louise Brown, right? And she was the result of her first IVF, but this is not surrogacy yet, right?
这个只是 IVF baby.
Yes, this is the IVF baby, which goes back into our gestational procedure, right? So in 1985, that was when a woman, right? We don't know her name. She was the first person to carry the gestational surrogate pregnancy, right? She was the first person to be IVF'd into her, and she's the first surrogate mom that is recorded in history.
哦，所以是1985年。
Yeah, and I do believe that she would have some contract as well. Alright, and then after that, what happens is with surrogacy, there's usually a lot of complications, right?
对。
So especially in 1986, we do have this girl that was born, right, Melissa Stern, also known as Baby M, right? She was born in the U.S. Unfortunately, after her birth, right, that was when there was a struggle between the surrogate mom becoming too close, too attached to the child, Melissa, and not wanting to give her back to the actual parents.
后悔了，她后悔了。
I'm not sure whether it's regret, right? But more like, hey, I have feelings, right? I'm the one who brought her up for 9 months,
对
right? I should be the one. I'm the real mother, right? So there was a big problem around that. But that specific case for Melissa Stern, one of the notable outcomes, right, was that they recognized the surrogate mom as the biological mother.
可是蛋不是她的。
Yes. Back then, I mean, they're still trying to figure out things, right, like internet. And what happened was, even though they acknowledged her as the biological mother, they realized that her living conditions are not good enough, right? So maybe not the best to raise a child. So it ended up being that this baby is then thrown back to the actual
妈妈
parents, right? The non-surrogates.
就是那个
the donors.
Yeah,
I hope it's the donors,
yeah.
right? So it's given back to them because they can probably provide a better life for Melissa. Okay, and then I have another case, right? In the year of 1990 in California, there's a a surrogate mom called Anna Johnson, who also refused to give back her baby, right, to the intended parents. And the parents basically sued her for custody, right? And they say, hey, I want to take back my child, right? This is mine. And what happened is that was probably the first time that it's legally defined, right, in the law books, that any surrogacy, right, the intended parents will be known as so-called the biological mother.
所以这个问题我们留下等一下讲。
Okay, sure.
所以这个我现在有一个 clear mindset， 原来在那么早之前就已经有代理孕母这件事情了。
Yeah. And to anyone who has actually watched Friends, right, Phoebe did give birth to 3 kids on behalf of her brother.
真的啊
Yeah.
还有那个Modern Family 那两夫妻 gay 的 parents， 他们也是
Oh, but that's adoption.
Lily's
是 adopted, so it's a bit different. Yeah.
OK 好。这样子的话好，我跟你说，在电影里面因为医生检查咪咪怀出来的孩子可能是唐氏痴呆儿。你懂什么是唐氏痴呆儿吗？
Down syndrome.
对 OK Down syndrome。 然后那对美国夫妇呢，他们竟然跑回美国，他们就觉得很伤心，他们花了那么多钱找代理孕母，找了1年，结果出来是一个唐氏痴呆儿。可是有没有想过，其实那个代理孕母 surrogate mom， 她一个人要面对可能born出来的是唐氏痴呆儿，然后在超过4个月好像堕胎就是很危险的。哇，你可以 imagine 如果真的是发生的话，在印度那么保守的国家，你没有结婚，你没有丈夫，可是你却有孩子，这个是多么让家族蒙羞的一些事情啊！所以咪咪呢，她在电影咪咪只好一个人去面对这件事情，可是幸好呢，她的家人有原谅她，她也有一个好闺蜜陪她。在 plot twist 呢，就是她竟然生下一个健康的孩子。你还记得吗？在电影里他们抱回去就是家里的时候，整干蹦的人都来围过来看，因为咪咪是一个印度人，皮肤比较黑，她竟然生出一个 white baby。
I think, right, that was an interesting point. If it was reversed, I think it would be a big deal.
Reverse 什么意思？
Let's say in a Angmo community, in a English community,
就是
right?
生出来
And they have a brown kid, then that will probably be different. The reason partially why they like the kids because it's white.
这个又可以讲另外一个 topic 了。
Yes,
另外一个
yes.
episode 是白，是不是白都是让人比较有好感？
Yes, let's keep this for another episode.
哇，这个很大的 topic。但是我同意，你懂为什么吗？因为呢，我的哥哥就说我一白遮三丑，一肥毁所有。你懂什么是一肥毁所有吗？
Once you get fat, everything is wasted.
呀，对，可是一白遮三丑。OK， 我们讲回一白遮三丑，我真的同意。因为呢，人为什么白很重要？因为你瘦你白，人家会觉得你好看；你胖你白呢，人家还是会觉得你好看呢，他会觉得你有福气。就好像我的顾客们讲我很有福气。OK， 我们讲回那个电影，我们还不小心被太跑。OK， 那个电影里面呢，4年过去了，然后这对美国夫妇呢，他们在social media 就是社交网站看到，诶，咪咪跟孩子竟然是正常的，然后他们又从美国飞回来印度要那个孩子，然后他们跟咪咪吵架，咪咪说这4年都是我来养他，凭什么说他是你们的骨肉？然后那对美国夫妇就讲，sperm 跟蛋都是我们的，我们会跟你打官司。OK， 我们不要剧透太多，可是 ending 是好的。其实我觉得这是一部蛮值得看的戏的啦。
Yep, definitely recommended.
OK， 说了那么多呢，其实我们今天就是要讨论代理孕母这件事情。
Why is it yeah? OK，
说了那么多，竟然终于到重点。好 ，back to topic， 你觉得代理孕母这件事情你怎么看
？Surrogacy, right? I think everyone would like to have that option because there are people who are unfortunately not being able to have kids of their own, right? Like what I said earlier, homosexuals, people with pre-existing health conditions, right? So as long as there's a demand, there will be a supply. If people think this is okay, then so be it, right? I don't think there is a lot to discuss about from a moral standpoint, right? I think it's okay, but the most important thing is there needs to be a contract, a law which states that if you're going to have this kid, right, what are the responsibilities between both parties, right? The surrogate mom and the people who are donating the so-called sperm and egg, right? What are their responsibilities? What happens when the kid, gets born, or even before it gets born, if something goes wrong, right? So that's my take on surrogacy.
其实他在东方国家代理孕母的接受度有多高？
东方啊 you're talking about like in
Asia.
In Asia. I don't have the statistics, right? But in, where do you call it? In UK, there was a statistics research done in the year 2017, right? Apparently, during that year, not everyone participated, but there was around 300 recorded surrogacy cases, which means there's probably, like, assume everyone every surrogacy term was successful. That means that there are 300 surrogacy kids out there.
Wow,
that's recorded. Yeah, and I would assume that it's increasing.
Okay, so being a very typical Chinese 啦，其实我觉得东方保守的思想都会觉得代理孕母这件事情，有一点点稍微的排斥，因为东方人都会觉得，哎，我应该自己生出来，然后可能他们会指指点点啊，或者真的是有遇到不能生的情况，然后别人真的去找代理孕母，我觉得啦，东方人还是会对他讲，哎呀，为什么你找代理孕母？哎呀，什么什么什么。然后就你不会觉得很奇怪吗？把你老公的精子放去别人的身体，like something like that 啦 ，you know 啦。哎，其实呢，我觉得这件事情呢，我们就要讲回一个应该是今年啊，我不明确的记得是几时办。中国女明星郑爽 ，OK， 我们把她找一个代号。
Okay, let's just call her Damn Shot.
OK, Damn Shot. OK, Damn Shot 呢，她和她的前男友在热恋期的时候呢，决定他们要在美国找代理孕母，可能是因为她的工作方式，工作性质不适合她怀孕，然后可能她自己不想怀孕，所以他们在美国找了代理孕母。可是他们分手了。发生什么事情呢？就是女方不要孩子，呢，结果前男友也不是一个什么好对付的人，他就把这件事情公开，在中国代理孕母是不合法的，结果呢，郑爽就几乎事业全毁。所以其实中国代理孕母应该不合法吧？
I am not sure.
OK， 中国好像不合法。
I Yeah, maybe let's just assume that it's not legal there.
那 Malaysia 合法吗？
Oh, Malaysia. In Malaysia, there is no hard stop on the law that says that surrogacy is allowed or not allowed, right? From a law perspective, but we do have to tie it back to religion, right? So, for Muslims, in the Sharia law, it's actually not allowed.
为什么？
Go ask them. I don't know.
万一他们真的没办法生，他们都不可以找别人。
They can have 4 wives.
万一4个都不能生，
Then you're unlucky bastard.
Well, OK， 在台湾呢，其实我刚才有找到，在台湾呢，在2020年的时候，他们有修正了法律，就是如果那个妻子没有子宫，那个妻子子宫或者有免疫疾病，或者难以生育孩子，或者妻子怀孕或者生的时候呢，会有严重危及生命的呢情况下，他们可以有代理孕母。其实在这方面，台湾的确比其他亚洲国家都走得前面一点吧，对于这件事情。像他们好像也是亚洲国家第一个接受同性恋的。
I think 同性恋 in terms of homosexuals, right? The acceptance of homosexuals in Taiwan is a very, very big deal. I think it's a very good thing to happen. But I'm not sure whether they are the first to, or well, they are one of the first few to accept surrogacy, right?
对。
But maybe I can share a bit more in terms of the legality, right, of surrogacy around the world. So there are 2 things to note, right? First, for surrogacy, right, the law is implemented in the country, but the surrogacy or the parents can come from a different country, right? Which means we have a domestic and we have an international surrogacy.
就是比如我在美国找代理孕母
Yes.
或者我是美国人，但是我去印度找代理孕母。
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So that means that you are different nationality, right? So that's one of the restrictions for some of the countries, right? The second thing is between commercial and non-commercial. Commercial means you have to pay back in terms of with money, right? Which means that, hey, the kid is now born. I'm going to exchange this much money to you for the baby back, right?
基本上就是卖 baby 啦。
Yeah,
可以算
basically
卖 baby 吗？
the contract says no lah.
OK， 所以这样就是代表有legal来保护这件事情，可是不能这个事情是不能用金钱交换。
Yes, correct.
这谁会要做啊？傻子吗？
No, there are some people who are willing to like to fork out the entire expense of the surrogacy period, which means that whatever food they eat, whatever place they stay, whatever drinks that they take, right, everything is covered in that 9-10 months. So there are things they exchange it for that kind of non-commercial benefit, right? So now I'm just going to share a bit on some countries. So you have US, UK, Ukraine.
Ukraine 是乌克兰。
Yes.
OK.
Russia
是
是俄罗斯。
OK 俄罗斯。
And Georgia, which I believe is 乔治 something like that.
I don't know.
No, that's Jordan.
Okay.
Georgia, I'm not sure. But anyways, these 4 countries are some of the leading countries in the world where they allow surrogacy, right? And it's not just normal surrogacy. They allow money payment, commercial surrogacy, and international surrogacy.
哇，这是一个 service 欸，这是一个职业。
Yeah, I think it's a career now.
哇，是一个赚钱很快的职业。诶，我可以借我的肚子吗？
不要啦。
Okay.
I mean, it's up to you lah, but you need to give birth to a lot of kids.
OK， don't take it serious 啊，这是我们的 joke 而已。OK， 好来。
Okay, so now these are the 4 countries which allow the maximum extent of surrogacy, which means that there's international, there's commercial, right? But there are some other countries that may have restrictions, right? So for instance, let's talk about Thailand, right? And let's talk about before 2015 and after 2015. So before 2015, there were instances where people that went to Thailand to get surrogate moms, right? And what happened is that, like what you mentioned, the child came up, there are problems, or because of being divorced or being 分手, which is break up, right? Then they no longer want the child. That is one of the real issues that happened in Thailand. and that's why from 2015 onwards, right, Thailand basically banned commercial surrogacy, right, which means that no money is involved, and then they restricted the so-called altruistic surrogacy to Thai couples, which means that
什么意思？
altruistic surrogacy, which means that the agreement to have the surrogate mom without any commercial benefits, and this is only restricted to Thai couples, which means that only
Local.
Thai people can do it.
明白。
In Thailand specifically, right? But if you change it, in Cambodia, right, they also implemented the same rule in 2016. They banned commercial surrogacy, but there's no mention in terms of foreign international surrogacy yet.
可以 under table 啦 you know like 其实是不是我不知道对不对啦，但是是不是 currency 比较好的国家，比如一些 Western country 他们会去像Asia Southeast Asia 来找代理孕母，因为价钱相对的便宜。
Yes, that's usually the case because like what we watch in Mimi, right? Two people from US, they went to India, and one of the main factors that they mentioned in the movie is cheap. I wouldn't say it's cheap, it's cheaper than them doing it in US. Yeah, so the currency does play a big role.
所以这个也变成了，因为你知道吗？其实我读到一篇文章，这个乌克兰的女生呢，她有讲代理一次就是帮一次生孩子，你知道可以赚多少马币吗？
Nope, how much?
75,000代孕费，75,000 ringgit， 很多对不对？
Wait. 75,000 9 months. So that's about 8,000 ringgit a month.
15,000 8,000 a month 听起来又还好。
Yeah.
OK。Anyway， 可是我们算马币，可是你有没有想过，可能在乌克兰啊，这笔数目对他们来讲是很可以做事情的一笔数目了。
Yeah。
而且 interesting 的是，我读到的这篇文章呢，这个女生呢，她竟然3次帮人家代孕，而且呢，有一对 couple 是印度夫妻。你有没有觉得很奇怪？印度应该更容易找吧？还是乌克兰更便宜？我不知道。
Maybe. I mean, we don't really know, right? But could be two things, right? Maybe Ukraine is cheaper, or maybe they want to find someone who is in a healthier region.
Okay.
I mean, like there's less pollution, there's less.
Okay. 有可能。所以其实我是看好这个戏，我才知道哇，原来代理孕母在那么多国家是慢慢的被承认，可是很多国家也 ban 掉它，不能拿它来赚钱。可是 imagine 如果不赚钱，哪一个女生会要把你带着一粒球38个星期，然后过后还要经历那个痛？我就不能经历痛、经历辛苦，收一个红包吗？
I think it's a bit reasonable to like exchange it for money, right?
对不对？
But they just don't want to make it an economy out of it to say. I mean, a lot of people will then choose to have kids, right? And it'll be flooded with this kind of people, and probably that's not something that a lot of people agree with from a religious perspective or from a personal experience perspective. Right, it can cause problems.
对，你觉得 religion 呢？我个人觉得啦，佛教、道教就是华人的宗教，对于这件事应该是蛮 open 的。
Okay.
如果真的生不出的情况下，我觉得这两个 religion 应该没有问题。这样你觉得 Christian 跟 Islam 可以吗
？I like I mentioned earlier, right? In Malaysia, at least in the Sharia law, it's actually not allowed to have surrogacy. Christianity-wise,
we need someone expert to explain this.
Yeah.
If you are Christian, please comment below.
Please leave a comment. You can find us on Instagram as well as on YouTube, right? We'd like to hear more. Any answers that you may have. But my first bet is that Christians won't allow. Surrogacy, I think.
Let's ask someone. OK， 如果我们问到了，我们会 update 一下。好，我问你一个严重的问题，又来了。
Sure, bring it on.
万一孩子检查出来像咪咪这样有问题，是谁的责任？你觉得是代理孕母的责任，还是提供 sperm 跟 egg 的责任的那个父的人的责任？
I think it needs to be stated out in the contract, right? Like you need to have a discussion and say, look, the reason why I find you is because you seem healthy, you seem whatever, right? And if there's anything wrong with this kid, right? Whether it's Down syndrome or whether it's because you smoke during pregnancy, right? Can we agree to abort the child?
我跟你讲，这样子的话，这个 contract 要非常厚，因为如果假设啦，我们先拿一个问题来讲，我们先拿像电影里面 Down syndrome， 其实是 chromosome 出了问题，所以照理来讲，应该是 sperm 跟 egg 的问题，跟代理妈妈没有什么关系耶。这样的话是谁的问题
？I fully agree with you, right? Extra chromosome is because of the parents, right? The donor of the sperm and donor of the egg. Maybe there's something went wrong. There's an extra chromosome, and having an abortion at 4 months because you can't detect Down syndrome
in the early
stages, no. Right? So it will be at the late stage where abortion is actually harmful for the surrogate mom, right? I fully agree that the parents or the so-called intended parents should take full responsibility. But of course, this is a negotiable contract.
可是万一你看啊，假设是我啦，怀孕的是我，那个人不要了，他跑掉，结果是我受苦哎，所以其实我觉得对 surrogate mom 是很不公平的，你觉得呢？
But at the same time, we must also see from a surrogate, from a intended parent's perspective, right? I'm asking you to like raise this, have this child healthily, right? But during this time, you could go and smoke, you can go and drink alcohol, right? And during that time, if the baby comes out unhealthy, right, then why should I bear the like? I know it's bad, right? But basically, there's an agreed terms and conditions, which means that you cannot smoke, you cannot do anything.
有
right? This needs to be listed down in the contract and agreed, right?
在那个我看的文章，就是那个乌克兰的女孩子，她有讲，他们有规定不能抽烟、不能喝酒、不能吸毒，所以这个是有 cover 在他们 so-called contract 里面啊。
Yes.
万一他们做到了，可是孩子还是有问题，谁的错？万一他不要孩子了，但他其实 surrogate mom 这个职业，我觉得他 deserve more money， 高过75千，他的 risk 太大了。
I think they should get more. I also believe that, let's say if it's a Down syndrome, right? The contract should be written in a way where the kid should be thrown back to the intended parents.
哇，我跟你讲，这样那个 contract 应该有100条。
Yeah, that's the thing, right? The contract needs to, I think it needs to state out almost every single problem that a child can have and say what happens
every hazard
in the outcome. Every hazard, right? What is the outcome? Who will take responsibility of that child, right?
哇，真的。为什么放这个呢？因为我又有多一个问题要问了。好，假设我今天怀了38个星期，有感情的嘞，我每天 carry 一个球走来走去，万一我生出来了我不舍得的话怎么办
？Well, that's the thing, right?
是不是有很多这样的 case?
Yeah, happens very often, right? And the problem is, it should be written in the contract that when it comes to full term, whether you're attached to the baby or not, you need to let go.
我跑路。
I mean, yeah lah, then you'll be a illegal fugitive lah, which means that people can hunt you down, right? But from a legal perspective, you are supposed to hand that baby back to the intended parents. That was the agreement of the contract.
可是如果讲对身体好的话，是要喝母乳吗？喝母乳的话，可是我看过了，我读了几个 case， 都是你一生下来你就要给 parents 了。这样你的，因为你其实是你怀他，所以你身体会 produce 那个 hormone， 会有母乳，但你 baby 都喝不到母乳，他就要走掉了。我要抗议，因为你给我选的那个上瘾费太少了，要一个很 sad 的声音。抗议！
Yeah, I don't think we have anything that's sad.
好啦，这样的话你觉得呢？就是这个就回到了科学。这个孩子会不会有代理妈妈的 DNA 啊
？Two things also, right? If it's a traditional method, which means that the baby, the egg came from the surrogate mom, then yes, they'll definitely share DNA. But in terms of IVF, it seems like, at least when I research online, it doesn't carry DNA.
哦，所以他完全是借人家的子宫住38个星期。
Yeah.
所以他还的是 rental.
Airbnb
Airbnb
，Airbnb
可
for
是如果 in this
baby
case 的话哦，他的 sperm 跟 egg 都不是 sperm definitely 不是他自己的，他的 egg 不是他自己的，他放去他的子宫，他的身体会排斥嘛？
That's the thing, right? There is a chance that they will reject it as well, but that's why once you get your IVF as a surrogate mom, you need to constantly go back to the doctor, and the doctor will need to follow and check up. Oh, okay, how is it growing? Is it expected, or is something going wrong? Right. So the first 3 months is when they decide, is your baby going to be healthy, or do you need to abort your kid? Yeah. So that's why it's important.
另外一个问题，你有没有想过这样的话，在科学上，在法律上，谁是那个孩子的亲生母亲
？Good question.
毕竟怀他住了他身体，他在他身体才有机会长成一个人，可是那个蛋不是他的。你看我的就是我的 co-host 他只准备了8个 button 给我，所以我没有别的 sound effect 了。
Actually, there's more, just that I need to set up. but there is, I haven't really fully understood or researched about this, right? But the term biological mother, right? Whether biological mother stands for DNA specific, or is it that person giving birth to that baby, right? If it's very DNA specific, I think that's usually what people go by. Then technically the surrogate mom, if it's IVF and it's not using her egg, then it's not, technically she's not the biological mother. But if it's her egg, then yes, she is the biological mother, but she's just not the intended parent.
哇，这样的话听起来它就是一个hotel.
Yeah, hotel. Airbnb, depends on how you see it.
快问快答，老公。
Yep.
你会接受代理孕母这件事情吗？
Yes.
你会要我们接受代理孕母这件事情吗？如果我生不出？
Yes.
这样你会花那75,000请一个代理孕母吗？
Yes. 这样子你会给我去跟另外一个女生？
不可以。
Damn, I tried. So close.
OK， 所以其实这样的情况呢，我有在想，在电影里面的时候，如果我真的找到代理孕母，然后他跟我讲是唐氏痴呆儿 Down syndrome 的时候，我要怎么办呢？我有在思考，如果把这件 case 放在我身上，我应该我会怎么做？如果是你会怎么做？你是那对洋人夫妇，你是那对美国夫妇，你发现咪咪身上的孩子有问题，你要怎么做
？This is the tough part, right?
对。
Of course, if I did write the contract, well, not even, I mean, without the contract, I should have a good conscience to say,
run away.
That's not good conscience. That's evil. But basically, like, I've already agreed, right, to have, I mean, for you to have the kid, like, as a surrogate mom. Whatever comes out, it should be my responsibility, right? If it's I mean, even if I have, if me and my wife can have kids, and just so happens that we have a Down syndrome kid, we still have to take care of that kid, right? And it will be the same thing for a surrogate mom, right? If the kid that you, I mean, have given birth through a surrogate, then you should take that even if that child or baby has Down syndrome, right? And you should still treat it as yours, technically.
可是你看啊，有一个很搞笑的事情，就是在 baby 成型了，在肚子，就是你做 abortion， 你做堕胎的时候，你不犯法。可是当他出来的时候，你再不要他，你是犯法。You see， 很好笑，对不对
？Like I said, right? Usually these are things that are stated in the contract. I think, right? This is just my personal opinion, right? Potentially, it could even split like, okay, you agree to be a surrogate mom. These are terms and conditions, right? Before the first 3 months, right? If there's anything wrong with the baby, I can choose to not have it. I can choose to abort. But maybe after 3 months, you know, when it's more developed, I don't have that option anymore. Maybe, right? Because you don't know what is going to happen to the kid in the first 3 months.
所以这个是一个很这样讲
It's something worth putting some thought into it, right? Especially for people who may need to go through that process, right?
就是其实你有蛮多的 risk 的啦，如果你找 surrogate mom， 很多的 conflict， 我可以用 conflict 吗？我觉得
I think there are more risk on the
对
surrogate mom, not so much on the parent, on the surrogate mom.
Anyway， 这个是一个没有答案的 topic， 因为呢，每个人有他自己的想法。就好像当我们是 intended parents 的时候，当你知道你就是对方怀着你的孩子可能是Down syndrome的时候，你的第一个反应一定是可能会是不想要，毕竟他没有在你肚子嘛。可是如果你是 surrogate mom 的时候呢，你就会有另外一种想法，毕竟那个时候你要堕胎是可能会伤害到你自己的身体的。所以我觉得这件事情呢没有对与错，就是看你怎么去 interpret 它，对不对？这是一个很值得探讨的 topic。今天来老公说
just saying that it's a very case by case basis, right? So you need to figure out whether it's suitable for you, or if you want to pursue a career as a surrogate mom.
pursue a career as a surrogate mom， 我的天哪这个不是一个好的 career。
Well, if there's demand, there's supply.
对啦，只是我觉得我反而觉得我跟你有了这个讨论过后呢，我觉得不要去 judge 别人。所以我们每个 topic 到最后我都是觉得不要去 judge 别人，不管他选择去找或者他找了有问题选择让人家堕胎 whatever， 别人都没有办法给意见，因为这是个人的选择，也没有不要在道德层面上去绑架他。
Yes, this is only one of the few cases where there is no straight answer. There are some things that has a definite answer.
Like what?
Get vaccinated. Deal.
好啦，今天有很愉快的一个 chat with 我的 co-host， 也是我的老公，也是我的人生伙伴 Kevin。
Thank you for co-hosting this. It's a very, very unique episode.
对，好，下一集到你啊。
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Ending 是哪一个 button？ Ending。
This one.
Okay.